All right, this update is brought to you by DraftKings. World Series Game 3 tonight between the Rangers and the D-backs in Arizona, with the series all tied up at 1 game apiece. 5 o'clock first pitch there. And Monday Night Football tonight, 5:15 kickoff between the Lions and the Raiders. Of course, you can listen to that game right here, starting at 4:45 right here on San Diego Sports 760. Check out what DraftKings has to offer this season with code SPORTS, because life's more fun when you're in on the action. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Age and eligibility restrictions do apply. Void where prohibited. See DraftKings.com for details today. All right, what's going on, San Diego? Jon and Jim on a Monday, except today it's just Jim Brent, and joining me on Monday here, Derek Togerson on Sports Wrap. Jon is going to be back tomorrow for Halloween, so if you don't know where he's at, he'll be back tomorrow. But Derek, first off, happy Monday to you, man. How are you doing today?
I'm good, man. How are you? Happy Monday to you as well.
It's been a long weekend for me, Derek. I moved this weekend down to IB. Yeah, moving is not fun, but it's always a good thing to get movers. Like if you ever are out there wondering about moving, get the movers, pay the money. It will make your life so much easier.
I just carry everything. I've moved many, many times in my life. I like putting the puzzle together in the big truck. I can't bring myself to pay someone else to do something that I can do myself.
Well, you're also jacked, so I can understand why you want to do that. Of course, you want to, use all your muscles there. But on a Monday here on Jon and Jim, we have Raiders and Lions later tonight, and we are now still in a waiting pattern. We are in a waiting pattern, presumably until the World Series is over. And the waiting pattern is for the next Padres manager. I feel like, Derek, we haven't seen many leaks about potential other candidates other than Ryan Flaherty or Mike Shildt. We haven't even really seen any interview, reports of anybody besides Ryan Flaherty and Mike Shildt. So we sit here on this Monday and still just kind of waiting this thing out. And I think at this point in time, tell me if you feel differently, that it's going to be between Flaherty and Shildt, and one of those two men are presumably the leading candidate in this whole thing.
It's, like I said, 87.5% that it's going to be one of those two.
Oh, 87.5%. Where'd you come up with that number?
I threw it out there. It sounded good.
87.5.
I didn't want to just go like 90 or 85 and round numbers. Let's split the difference.
I like it.
It's very, very, very likely it's going to be either Mike Shildt or Ryan Flaherty.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why you wouldn't talk to other people outside the organization. I don't know why you wouldn't talk to more people inside the organization. But obviously, those two guys have been around. They saw what happened last year. They saw the inefficiencies. They saw the delinquencies. They saw everything that is wrong with this inner workings of this organization. So they're very familiar with it. And that might mean that makes them uniquely placed to handle it and not let it happen again. Or they were around it and they're part of the coaching staff, and now they want to get a fresh voice in there. So I honestly don't know which way this is going to be. I think it'd be incredibly short-sighted if they don't interview multiple people from outside the organization. Just see if anybody comes in here and blows your doors off. It's the easy way out to hire one of these two guys. Even if they are fantastic candidates, you have to do your due diligence, cross your T's and dot your I's, and just talk to multiple people to see what's out there. Whether they do that or not, I don't know.
I agree. I mean, when you're dealing with, say you have a successful company or organization or whatnot, right? And someone leaves their job post and you hire from within. I feel like there's a confidence level there. Like, well, we've been successful. We have people underneath us. And so hiring from within, you feel confident if that person elevates up to a level where they're taking over for someone that left the company or whatnot. But when you're dealing with a dysfunctional company or a company that doesn't do well, or there's always turmoil there, and you are saying, well, this person left or they got fired, and you hire from within, I feel like the confidence level of that company and the people inside of it aren't going to be as high because of the dysfunction that is in that organization or company from hiring from within. That's why I feel like I'm with you. To not go out, and I don't know if they have or have not. We haven't seen anything. That's why I said it's at this point in time, it's very quiet. But to not go out and potentially interview a guy like Craig Counsell, who is interviewing today with the Cleveland Guardians, to go out and maybe see what the Rangers and like Will Venable are doing. Hey, is Will Venable after the World Series able to interview, or in between off days, or whatever the case may be, to not go out and potentially be serious about hiring somebody from a respected organization or a successful organization, or just talking to somebody from a successful organization, would feel so Padres to me. It would feel like AJ is going back to his old ways and getting people around him that he, one, feels comfortable with, and two, are perceived, I guess, yes man.
Well, this is what's weird about this is when AJ took over, he had Buddy Black and he inherited him, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He didn't talk to Dave Roberts.
I know.
That was the guy who was in the organization.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to go outside the organization because he thought they needed a fresh voice. So why is it that this time around, they don't want the fresh voice? They don't want to go outside the organization. They want to go with the guy who was already in there. It seems like he's completely done a 180 on this, and I could not begin to tell you why.
I don't know either. And he has mentioned that he is going to at least change some aspects of the way he does things. He's going to change or at least attempt to change the communication side of how he runs things, because of the lack of communication, the lack of being present for the last couple of years that he said that he was doing. So going outside the organization, I feel like would be a good thing, but I don't know if that's what AJ Preller necessarily wants to do. It was so funny. I have people like messaging me over the weekend, like, dude, I saw AJ Preller with Ryan Flaherty at this restaurant, and it looks like he's going to be the new manager. And again, those are just people like messaging me. So it's like, I can't take it to be 100% fact, but still, it's so funny that people are now on like this Preller watch. And who is it going to be? Is it going to be Flaherty or Schilt? Is it going to be a mystery candidate? And with the thing with AJ Preller is you hear all the time is like, he can go out of nowhere from left field and pull a 100% wild card on you. Do you feel like that there's a chance there? I know you gave it an 85.5 or
87.5%.
87.5%. It's either Flaherty or Schilt, but do you see that other 12.5%? I think I did the math right there. Actually,
well done.
no.
Yes.
12.5%. Yeah. Do you see the other 12.5% being the mystery candidate that Preller could go down that road?
Yeah, that 1/8 is very much the wild card, as you said. It could be anyone. It's the Will Venable. They'll have to wait until after the World Series is over. And by the way, Will, I think, is at some point going to make a hell of a skipper. He gets it. He's a Princeton guy. He'd be great to have him back here. You're always a good dude to talk to. I think he still looks like he can play too. Like he's athletic. He'd be able to understand the physical grind that these guys go through, since he went through it fairly recently as well. There's somebody out there like Jace Tingler. I think nobody thought about Jace Tingler as a real managerial candidate until AJ started talking to him. Like there's got to be somebody out there that we don't know about or we haven't considered that AJ's like, nah, you know what? I'm going to go maybe try and find and talk to this dude here. Even when Andy Green was being hired, like, yeah, he was a 2-time Southern Conference or Southern League Manager of the Year. Like he was a known commodity. He was an up and comer at the time. And he interviewed, by the way, also for the Cleveland job. If he gets it over Craig Counsell, then he must have learned a hell of a lot since he left the Padres.
Right.
Because that's not you got to find somebody to replace Terry Francona, who's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
So Craig Counsell might be the one who can handle that. He's a Midwest guy. I'll digress on that. But the Padres should talk to Craig Counsell. Mm-hmm. There's no question. He's a guy who has put the Brewers into the postseason for more than half of the Brewers' lifetime postseason appearances, and he's done it in the last 6 years. You talk to that guy.
Yeah.
It reminds me like, remember 2013, the Chargers looking for a coach after the 2012 season, and they fired Norv Turner. Mm-hmm. Andy Reid had a home in San Diego.
Yeah.
And they didn't talk to him. Bruce Arians was the reigning NFL head coach of the year, and they didn't talk to him. because Mike McCoy came in and somehow blew everybody's socks off of the interview process. And they called Arians and said, don't bother coming. We found our guy. Didn't even want to talk to Andy. They probably figured they couldn't afford him. And, they were right. And how's that worked out for you ever since? It reminds me of that kind of thing. Like, go out, cast a wide net. You don't have to hire everyone you talk to. Find some other people to talk to. Talk to a listener. That would be awesome. Talk to other people who might have a fresh take on baseball and show you something that maybe you've overlooked.
Just like put this job title on Indeed so you can have as many people as possible that you can speak with, that you can talk to, get different ideas from.
I'd apply.
That'd be I'd apply too. Me, you, John, Brent, we'd all apply to be the new Padres manager. So AJ Preller can get ideas from every part of the baseball world to potentially, hire the right guy. But if it is, let me ask you this. If it is Flaherty, all right, give me, I guess, your pros for Ryan Flaherty, because if it is
him, me to write a poem about Ryan Flaherty?
No, the pros, like pros and cons list.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Like, what is your pros for Ryan Flaherty to be the new manager of this team?
Nobody knew that Bobby Cox was Bobby Cox until he became Bobby Cox. He had to have a chance. Nobody knew that Terry Francona was going to be him until he had a chance. Ryan Flaherty could be the answer. We don't know. He doesn't have the resume. He hasn't done it before, but you can't have a resume until you give it a chance to build a resume. So the excitement level, I think, is good. I've told Darren this. I've seen him work with the players at batting practice at Petco Park. I've seen him interacting with them. Veterans listen to him. He seems like he gets along with them. He had a fairly recent, long professional career, 8 years in the big leagues. He understands the game. He gets it. I think the pros would be if, and this is the thing that we don't know. AJ's got to talk to his superstars. He's got to talk to Manny. He's got to talk to Fernando. He's got to talk to you. He's got to talk to Joe. He's got to talk to the leaders in that clubhouse and say, what do you know about this guy? How are your interactions with him? Do you think he can do this job? If he gets buy-in and sign off from the superstars, then it would make sense. If not, then you don't go anywhere near that guy. So that's one big part of the pros that I don't know. The cons are, and I'm trying not to let the interviews that we had when he was the interim manager get to me. Doesn't seem like a whole lot of personality there. Doesn't seem like the guy who walks in and commands the room. But we thought that about Nick Sirianni after his introductory press conference with the Eagles as well. And he turned out to be pretty darn good as a head coach. The experience thing, man. The experience matters. He has not been through the grind of a 162-game season as the guy in charge who everyone's coming to with all the problems and wondering how your bullpen usage is going to be. I don't know how you can handle all that information.
Yeah, see, the reason why I asked that is like, usually when you're doing something or you're moving or whatever, you write a pros and cons list for stuff. And I don't know if the pros can outweigh, or they do outweigh, the cons for Ryan Flaherty. Yeah, there's potential for anybody as a first-time manager to be a great manager. But we've seen that here in San Diego fail 2 times. Yes. One, it was a placeholder because they were rebuilding, but the other failed in just horrible fashion when they were expecting him to be the manager for the next decade plus. And then you look at Mike Schilt, who I do feel like there's more pros than Ryan Flaherty and less cons than Ryan Flaherty.
He's the known commodity, right?
He's the known guy. He has a little bit of a resume. But then I'm thinking to myself, I keep going back to St. Louis, Derek, and the reasons why he was let go there.
Analytics
was like almost the same, not the same, but part of the reason why Bob is not here anymore. The disconnect on analytics and communication between the front office and the manager and the coach's room.
Which could be a good thing for Schilt. It could be a good thing because the difference is AJ wanted to give Bob a certain kind of information. Bob wanted different information. AJ's like, no, we believe as an organization, this is the organization, the information that's going to help us win. Maybe Schilt wants the exact information that AJ is trying to hand down. And that's what he wasn't getting in St. Louis. Every organization does this thing completely differently. Analytics is not just a one size fits all thing. So if Schilt really craves the exact information that AJ is trying to pass down, then it's a perfect fit.
Potentially,
but we don't know that.
Don't know.
We don't know what kind of information they're sharing.
I am in a 100% wait and see. Whatever Preller does and decides on here, I don't know if I can give it my full backing until I actually see it in action and give it time, because we've gone the skeptical route with Jace Tingler. That failed. We went the 100% buy-in. This is a great move with Melvin. That failed. So now it's like, whoever you hire, whoever he decides to be the next manager of the Padres, for me at least, and I don't know about you, Derek, but for me, I just am like, okay, whatever. We'll see what happens, because, hey, the last 2 times when you're on both spectrums here, first-time manager to experienced manager, I don't trust you in the first place. So I'm going to have to wait and see on this one.
But what's interesting is, and you bring up a good point, they failed, but they all failed for different reasons.
Yeah.
You know, Pat Murphy failed because he was Pat Murphy. Andy Green failed because it was a terrible roster going through a rebuild, and he didn't have the pieces to win. Jace Tingler failed because he didn't know how to read a room. He had no idea how to connect with the superstars, and his in-game management he was overwhelmed by the job. Bob Melvin failed, although I can't really say he failed because he had 2 winning records and went to the National League Championship Series, but it didn't work out, because he was an experienced skipper who knew how he worked and what he was successful with, and he wasn't getting those tools from the organization. So all of them failed, but they all failed for completely different reasons. So what I'd like to hope is AJ now has learned from all of these different failures and says, okay, I need to avoid this. I need to avoid this. I need to avoid this. I need to find somebody who fills in the blanks where I might have some blind spots, and we can really be a complete organization. Will he look for that? I hope.
That's the only thing here, is just, I hope. Jon and Jim on a Monday. Derek Togerson in for Sports Wrap. Derek, I know that you have very strong opinions towards Juan Soto. Lately, you have seen more rumors pop up about, potential Juan Soto trades. Over the weekend, we saw the Cubs could be a suitor for Juan Soto. Last week, it was the Yankees. I feel like this is not going to die. I feel like the closer we get to the winter meetings and after the World Series ends here, the Juan Soto trade rumors are only going to heat up. Are you on the side that the Padres should look at trading Juan Soto, or do you think that this would just be a massive mistake, and it would be another knock on Preller if they decide to trade Soto for like potentially 75 cents on the dollar?
We all have to come to grips with the fact that he's not signing an extension here.
Yeah.
Because Scott Boras is taking him to free agency. Because Scott Boras sees that a Shohei Ohtani, who is not going to be pitching, is going to reset the free agent market this year. And then he is going to use Juan Soto in his next monster year offensively to use that as the baseline to then go forward. It would be stupid for him to sign an extension right now and not seeing how the rest of the market plays out. He is going to free agency. So all this sign him to an extension talk right now, let it go. That's not happening. The agent will not allow it to happen. So now you have 2 options. They're not going to be able to afford him after this season. So you do one of 2 things. Either say, A, we're at our best if we have that monster left-handed bat in our lineup. We're going to let it go for 1 year. We're going to finish out what we 3 pennant races with one, and then figure it out after that. Or, you have holes on this team. Look at the starting rotation. It's got a lot of issues right now. And you say, we need to, A, save money, and we're looking at $29, $30 million for one player. We need to fill multiple holes. We need to get younger and cheaper. Trading Juan Soto is probably a really good way to do all of those things. So I would err on the side of, yes, you probably need to deal him because you need to get a more complete roster. I know, by the way, it's not like this club is bereft of superstars. You've still got plenty in the tank as long as everyone, you don't have to have career years. They just have to play to their potential. And if they just play to their potential, this offense will be fine. And defensively, they'll be a heck of a lot better. Plus, Ha-Sung Kim is entering the last year of his contract. Would you rather extend Ha-Sung Kim or Juan Soto? I would rather have Ha-Sung Kim around right now, if I'm being completely honest. Loved in the clubhouse, defensive wizard, coming into his own as an offensive force, top 5 in WAR in the National League last year, very quietly. I think he's a guy who you should have around a lot more than Juan Soto be around. So yes, I would say if you can deal him, deal him. Also, if Jason Dominguez and the Yankees, a name that I've heard floating around, if he is on the block, you make that trade yesterday because the Martian is real. That's a dude who was left-handed bat, 20 years old. Yeah, I know he just had the Tommy John surgery. He won't be back till the middle of next year probably, but he is a different level player. If you can get that dude back, everything else is gravy that you're going to get back because he's going to be a stud for a long time.
See, I understand what you're saying. I personally would take Juan Soto for the long term. I think that
you're not getting him for the long term.
No, I'm just saying, like, you asked, hey, would you sign Soto or Kim? And you chose. I would have chose Soto, even though I love apps. I love everything that Ha-Seong Kim does. I think I would choose. So I would choose Soto.
Do we need to brace ourselves for Ha-Seong Kim being traded because they might not be able to afford an extension for him?
I mean, if that happens this offseason, then it's officially DEFCON 1 around here, even though it kind of already feels like DEFCON 1. But for me, you traded for Juan Soto for 3 playoff runs. We knew that's not going to happen now. We are looking at next year as a year that they have to win, and they have to probably win in a big way. And so I just think that Juan Soto on this team is going to help you do that. I know they have a lot of holes on their roster, but if you trade Juan Soto now, do they fill those holes next year when they need to win, or do they fill those holes and potentially 3 years down the road when whatever prospect you trade
when Manny's 35?
Yeah, you kind of want to win.
Joe's at the end of his contract,
right?
When Darvish's contract is up.
Yeah, you want to win right now. Like the reason why you went out and did all these moves was you needed to win right now. Derek, great conversation tonight. Sports Wrap. Tell everybody where you can find this on the Roku channel.
You just said it. Go to the Roku channel. You check out the thumbnails. You can check out our Fast channel. Go on your streaming TV things that all you kids have nowadays, and you can check it out on the NBC7 app. Yeah, it's all over the place.
All right, Derek Togerson, Sports Wrap here on Jon and Jim. Derek, we'll catch up with you down the road, man. Thanks so much.
Sounds good, man. You're not gonna get into Brock Purdy
later. We'll get into it later. All right, coming up next. A certain member of the media has fired back at AJ Preller. You'll hear what they had to say about that coming up next. All right, this update is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz. Game 3 of the World Series, Rangers and D-backs tonight in Arizona, 5:07 first pitch there. That series is tied up at 1 game apiece. And Monday Night Football tonight, 5:15 kickoff between the Lions and the Raiders in Detroit. You can listen to that game right here starting at 4:45 on San Diego Sports 760. From the versatile EQB to the sublime EQS sedan, Mercedes-Benz makes electric extraordinary. The vehicles are all electric. The feeling is all Mercedes. The choice is all yours. Learn more at mbusa.com/EQ. All right, Jon and Jim on a Monday. It's just Jim and Brent today. Jon will be back tomorrow. So with the end of the season here and AJ Preller kind of getting caught in lies, especially when asked about anonymous sources, Ken Rosenthal was kind of in the middle of that, him and Dennis Lynn and Kevin Acee. And over the weekend, I believe this was over the weekend, he was either late Friday or it was Saturday afternoon when this was posted on the Foul Territory podcast on YouTube. Ken's a regular on that show, Ken Rosenthal. And he was asked about AJ Preller and the end of the year. And this was a very interesting response from Ken's. It's a couple minutes long here. Ken's talking about the anonymous sources and what he made of all the things AJ Preller said.
Can we, as a Padres fan, ever believe what AJ Preller says? AJ Preller, who has gone through 6 managers in 10 years, can we believe him from here on out?
I don't know that I would go that far, Eric, and I'll give you the background on this. I wrote a story with Dennis Lynn of The Athletic about the Padres, came out September 19th. And there were a lot of anonymous sources, and there were people who detailed the problems with the organization, how there were many issues going on, one of which was the relationship between Bob Melvin, the manager, and AJ Preller, the GM. And one player who asked to remain anonymous said their relationship was unfixable. Then the Padres, of course, missed the playoffs. AJ Preller holds his end-of-season news conference, as most GMs do, and says Bob Melvin's going to be back. He's our manager. And he also says, and I don't put much credit in reports with unnamed sources, etc. That's fine. You don't have to put much credibility on those reports, but it turned out that that relationship was unfixable. And how do we know? We know because the Padres let Bob Melvin go with 1 year left on his contract to take a job with the San Francisco Giants, who gave him a 3-year deal. That's how we know. If the relationship is so good, Bob Melvin is back, and he's back to fulfill the final year of his contract with a team that should be quite good. And the only reason I said anything is because when you try to discredit what we do, and listen, we're not perfect either, but when you go out there publicly and say, you don't put much credibility in this stuff, and then what happens is what we reported, I'm sorry, that needs to be called out.
Do you feel like
agreed.
Do you feel like there should be an apology, Ken? Do you feel like
no,
that's
no,
not like that?
No, Paul. I don't operate like that. And listen,
Yeah.
A few years ago, I'll be upfront about this. I reported that the Max Scherzer trade was close to the Padres. Didn't turn out to be true, and I had to wear it. And AJ Preller handled that professionally with me, and we sort of joke about it from time to time. It wasn't good at the time. It wasn't good at all. One of the low points of my career, to be perfectly honest. But these things happen, and we go forward. There's no need for an apology or anything like that. But I felt when he said that, okay, if you're bringing Bob Melvin back, okay, and the relationship improves, all power to you. But as I wrote, actions speak louder than words, and the actions were clear here.
And anonymous sources are awesome because sometimes they'd be fired if they actually put their name on it. So we need that.
Here's all right. I know a lot of people like Eric don't like anonymous sources. I don't blame them. I'd much rather have people on the record at all times. But sometimes, because matters are so sensitive, people are not willing to speak on the record. And if you want to get at what is going on, you have to use anonymous sources. And you have to be careful, because people have agendas, and sometimes they're operating from a position of that kind of thing. But at the same time, anonymous sources are necessary often to get to the bottom of a particular issue.
I feel like a lot of people that were bashing anonymous sources should listen to that, because that painted a perfect picture on why anonymous sources are such a big deal. And if you're having a credible reporter give out anonymous sources, like, you kind of have to take those things as be serious. And I don't know if Preller did public. I know he didn't publicly. I don't know if he fully did privately either. I don't know if he did. It's kind of a wait and see. Did he learn anything from this? And with whoever's the next manager of this team, I tell you what, though, there better not be one more athletic piece or Kevin Acee piece written in the Union Tribune about dysfunction behind the scenes and a problem with the manager. Like, this is it. Like, we can all agree. The next manager for the Padres, whether it be Ryan Flaherty, Mike Schilt, or some random mystery candidate, this is it. We're done. Even though I said that after Melvin. I said that after Jace Tingler. Like, hey, look, your next manager, that's it. You're tied. This one's officially tied to Preller, no matter what. There can never be another report like the one from Ken Rosenthal and Dennis Lin again. It like cannot happen. It cannot happen. And if it does, and Preller still keeps his job, then that's even more of a blame towards Peter Seidler.
Yeah, they can't have any more articles come out, because who the hell's going to want to come manage here and be like, hey, you want to come to San Diego and be micromanager? You know, you're not even going to really be the manager. You know, AJ is going to be the manager. We're just going to give you the title. And
well, Brent, I don't know if you heard, but AJ Preller said that this place is a very desirable place to come, and also that many, many, many people have already reached out to AJ Preller wanting to come work here and be potentially the manager of this team.
That could be true, but I'm sure many, many, many people would also be, yeah, no way in hell am I going to go there and, you know, get involved in that.
Have you given did Darren contact you about potentially, who do you think is going to be the man? Like, who do you right now, Brent, have as your leading candidate to be the manager?
Probably Flaherty, just because he's the least deserving.
You go the least common deserving person, and that probably will end up becoming the manager.
Well, because I don't think he's going to hire the right person. I think it's going to be another Jace Tingler thing, to where, you know, everyone's going to be like, who?
Yeah.
To where, you know, everyone outside of San Diego.
Everybody knows Ryan Flaherty now.
Well, yeah, but like outside of San Diego, they're going to go, who?
Yeah, I think Ryan Flaherty is a more well-known name than Jace Tingler. At least Ryan Flaherty like played in Major League.
I think AJ would rather have a manager that's not going to push back on him with things, that would rather just go with his flow. So I can, you know, Flaherty doesn't really have, you know, a lot of room to be pushing back at stuff. So I can see him hiring Flaherty just for that reason too. So I don't really want him to hire Flaherty, but that's who I think he's going to do.
70470, start your message with team. Who do you think is the leading candidate right now for the Padres managerial job? 844-570-1360. Give me a call if you want to talk about who you want to be the next manager of the Padres. Is it between Ryan Flaherty, or is it between Mike Schilt? Or do you think that AJ Preller will do something off the grid, completely mystery guy, and shock us all again? That's a real possibility, I feel like, even though I do think that Ryan Flaherty and Mike Schilt are the two leading candidates here.
Oh, and real quick, and if you haven't noticed, John is not here.
What?
He's out getting his Halloween costume. At least that's what we're going to tell you. So, wrong answers only on the text line and chat. What is John's Halloween costume going to be tomorrow?
I'm fully dressing up, by the way, Brent.
That doesn't surprise me. I'm not.
You're not?
No.
What is John really going to get a Halloween costume?
What do you think?
I'm going to bring him a Halloween costume. I'm going to force that guy to wear a Halloween costume.
John's Halloween costume is going to be another San Diego State 3-button polo
with a hat, a Sons of Montezuma hat, and he's like, I'm dressed up. All right, coming up next, where can you watch the Padres in 2024? Well, I think we have an answer for that. I'll tell you where you can watch them coming up next. All right, I think we have an answer for you can watch the Padres games in 2024. I'll tell you that answer coming up next. All right, John and Jim on a Monday. Except John is off. We'll be back tomorrow for Halloween. I am dressing up. I'm going to make John dress up. Brent will not dress up. No. But I saw some people like, I don't know, celebrating Halloween today. I'm like, guys, it's Halloween's tomorrow. Like, what are we doing here? I know this past weekend was the Halloween party weekend. Thankfully, I was moving and I completely forgot about it.
Dude, I spaced it out. I took Peanut out for a walk, and there was like this group of kids. And it's like, oh, okay, I guess they're doing Halloween. And then I got like 5 feet down the road, and I passed some lady that was like, I was like, oh, hey, how you doing? And I was like, man, she's pretty dressed up. She must have had to work or something. And I was like, wait a minute. She's just dressed up like Uma Thurman from Pulp Fiction. And I turned around. I was like, are you Uma Thurman?
You yelled that?
Yeah. And she's like, yes. I was like, okay. I was like, I forgot what day it was.
Yeah. I completely forgot it was Halloween weekend because of the move that I did. My mom actually, she goes all out for Halloween. I don't know if you know this, but my mom, there's a tradition at my house. Every year, my grandpa started it. And my mom now lives in my grandparents' house that she grew up in. So she has taken over that house. That house is now like in the family forever. And my grandpa used to work at a company called Leslie Salt. And they had like the best salted popcorn ever. So he decided that he wanted to have parties every Halloween because all the parents would come over and they would just drink. And instead of giving candy out to the kids, he gave out popcorn. So he had a popcorn stand at his house, at my grandparents' house. So every year was the popcorn stand. The parents would come over. My grandpa would spike their coffee with little Baileys, right? And it became a tradition at our house. And so now every year my mom does a popcorn stand. So the popcorn stand will be out tomorrow night at the house. And all the kids will go over. And of course the parents, because they want all the booze. My mom bakes a lot of cookies and has pizza and everything. It's like the party house. It's a non-conventional like way of doing things because usually it's candy, but I think popcorn's pretty cool.
My parents don't do anything. My parents
nothing.
My parents' tradition is to sit in the house with the lights off and make no sound, like it's a quiet place or something.
Like hope no one comes by.
If any kid looks through the window and sees them, that then they're going to be obligated to give them candy. Some years,
please don't come to my house.
Some years they'll make it a point to not even be in town. They will go someplace and then be like, okay, we'll come back after 8 when trick-or-treating is done. Did
you ever, and I'm probably sure you did, go to those houses that had the bowl of candy outside and it said just take one, but you actually took the whole thing?
No, because people weren't that trustworthy in my neighborhood. They wouldn't do that.
See, that's always a risky play because if you leave out candy and you say take one, you are going to get the one kid that's going to take the whole entire thing.
Well, see, that's risky these days, though, because people have Ring cameras now.
That is true. But what are you going to do? It's just a bowl of candy.
Well, I know, because there's that one video of that one Karen going around and just dumping.
Karen.
Well, because there was some like 40-year-old lady that just walked up and dumped like a whole bowl into her purse. She didn't even have a kid with her and then walked away. But it was on the Ring camera, so she got caught.
So one of the questions that I know I had, and I'm sure a lot of people out there had, is like, where can we watch the Padres in 2024? Like, where are the Padres going to be? Because Bally is no longer a thing. And who knows if they're going to get their own TV network here in town. I don't think that's going to happen for a while. But we do have an answer. We do have an answer on where you can watch the Padres next season, at least just for the 2024 season. I don't know about the future. I don't know about how long this could be. But I do know that in 2024, according to Sports Illustrated and Rob Manfred himself, so it comes from the horse's mouth, that in 2024, the Padres will be back at the MLB network or MLB will still be running their production. So it's pretty much what they had this year is going to be the exact same thing next year for a full season. I don't know the pricing on it. I know that once the Padres got taken over by Major League Baseball, the pricing on it was, I believe, $19 a month, and then it was like $72 for the rest of the year. It was like 4 months for like $72. But according to Sports Illustrated and Rob Manfred, next year the Padres will be on, I guess, the MLB app, MLB network, and Major League Baseball will be running their broadcast again. And so I don't know how much revenue they're going to get from that. It depends on the pricing of it. There was no pricing attached. There was not like oh, this is going to be the price for that. But that's going to be the next clue and the next thing of how in debt they are if they ratchet this thing up to like, I don't know, like $100 for the full season, or if they do like $30 a month. And that's going to be, to me, a real big key and a real big thing for next year. Cause I know some people with all the streaming stuff and all the internets and cable providers, like people, it just costs so much money now. Like I have 75 streaming networks in my house.
I think the difference between this year and last year is going to be they're prepared for it this year.
They are, yeah.
Last year, I think they didn't think that, 2 months into the season, Bally was just going to say hell with it and just go delinquent on their debt and not pay it. So this year, at least going into the season, they know ahead of time, look, this is our deal now. We're in charge of it. So we can go out and set a price because we have the whole season now, opposed to just having to, prorate because we are already 2.5 months into the season and we can't charge a full season price, even though that's what the NFL would have done.
Right. I guess they would.
So yeah, I think they at least know they're ready for it this time. It's not going to be like all of a sudden, we're a month in, all of a sudden it's like, oh God, MLB, they don't want to pay their bills anymore. Now, what are we going to do? So
and that's
they're ready for it.
And that's what Rob Manfred said is like last year they had only like hours of notice. There was rarely any notice given from Bally to Major League Baseball and the Padres about the discontinuation, the bankruptcy effect of Bally Sports.
Well, it's one of those things like how you always see on the news, 18 times a year about, we're 3 days away from a government shutdown. It's just
Nothing
like,
happens.
Bally is 3 days away. If they don't pay their bill, then they're going to get the rights taken away. And then, the first couple times they'd be like, oh, okay, we'll pay it right in the last second.
Yeah.
And then we waited till the last second, the last time. And then they're just like, we're going to pay.
And the one thing about last year is it was for $19 a month to watch Padres games. I thought that was relatively good pricing. I don't think that was something outrageous. I think $72 for like 4 months of baseball or whatever it was, 4.5 months of baseball was, I think, pretty good. But the problem was there wasn't this significant increase of viewers and packages that were bought. Like it wasn't this crazy spike that I think they hoped for. And so now going into a full season with presumably the price going up, more notice, is it going to be the same amount of people, or is there going to actually be a spike, or is there going to be a decrease because of what happened last year? Maybe people were kind of like, I'll wait to see before I buy this package, however much it is, because the Padres, they got my trust back.
Real quick, I would say maybe more because MLB Network and the MLB app is a little more reliable than that thing that Bally trotted out.
Oh, God.
How many complaints did we see?
Dude, the Bally
every
app was
season
horrific.
on the text line or just from callers about how the Bally app didn't work half the time. And, at least, the MLB app's going to work.
Yes, you are right about that, Brent. You are right about that. So we'll see. But Padres back on, underneath the umbrella of Major League Baseball, and more productions from Major League Baseball next season. So we'll see how that whole pans out. All right, coming up next, we have the wrap. Also, possible destinations for a potential Juan Soto trade. We'll talk about that coming up next. This isn't going over here, right?
That's right. Get generic for Viagra, the same active
No.
ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider.
Yeah. Thanks for the super chat. Every so often says Grand Theft Auto 6. Grand Theft Auto 6 will come out before AJ is gone. PS6 will come out before AJ is gone. Thanks for the super chat. Every so often, appreciate it, man. If you guys want to send a super chat, I'll get to them all during the breaks. We have a short show today, up until 4:45. We got Monday Night Football. But if you're watching now, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and we'll be back in a couple seconds here. Thanks, guys.
Getting close to that time. Yep, that time. Quitting time. And there's only one way to handle that drive home. John Schaefer and Jim Russell.
Everybody that we talked to was saying, like, okay, this is the final night that we're going to, at least the team, that we're going to really enjoy the moment, enjoy what we did last year. But after tonight, it's full steam ahead on this upcoming season.
And by the way, I already felt it in talking to these players all offseason. Lamont Butler, if forced to talk about it, he'd prefer talking about the upcoming season. Same thing with Jaden Ledee. He's got no desire. He's very, obviously, he's thrilled to be associated with what happened last year. But they've turned the page.
Now it's time for Jon and Jim.
All right, Jon and Jim on a Monday. Jon will be back tomorrow for Halloween. Till the meantime, it's me and Brent holding down the fort until 4:45 today, because we have Monday Night Football, Lions and the Raiders. And it's so funny. I'm looking at the TV screen over here, and I see the little lower third, what they're talking about right now. It says Tommy Pham's impact on the Arizona Diamondbacks. If Tommy Pham wins the World Series MVP, I'm going to retweet so many Tommy Pham things. Because that's like my thing is I gotta retweet all the former Padres things that they're doing. And Tommy Pham's had a great World Series so far. Home run in game 1, went 4 for 4 in game 2. He is
the most surprising thing that he's done this whole series is when he voluntarily benched himself so that other guy could get a
Jace Peterson, yeah,
so he could get an at bat in the World Series.
That's what a selfless teammate does, Brent.
This is the same Tommy Pham that was gonna punch Ha-Seong Kim for running into him, right? Even though he didn't speak English, but he still sat there and yelled at him for like a minute and a half.
It's crazy because wherever Tommy Pham's been, like Tampa, right? It worked out there. They loved him there. It has worked out in Arizona. It didn't really work out in New York, but for some reason here, it just felt like Tommy Pham was a huge burden and it is huge problem. Yet almost everywhere he's been a guy that every teammate has said that he's been amazing and uplifts that clubhouse, and he's been on winners. Like he's just a winner. But yet for some reason it didn't work out here. Is that surprising to you? Not really, not in the slightest. Okay, coming up, we have interesting, I guess, trade scenarios for you for Juan Soto. Also, my back page, the bottom of the hour right now. Brent, let's get to this.
It's time for The Wrap, presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
What are your thoughts on the NBA in-season tournament special courts that got revealed today?
You saw this, right?
That's a mouthful. Yes, I did.
That's what she said. Dude, these are the ugliest things ever. The ugliest, stupidest thing that I've ever seen for the NBA to try to prop up this stupid in-season tournament. I already know this is John's favorite thing on the planet because he knows it pisses me off. But dude, come on. You can't spin this. You cannot spin these ugly courts.
They were just boring.
They're not even boring. They're just too much. Like, what do we do? Why are we making these courts different? For what reason? It's essentially a regular season game that they're turning into a tournament.
Well, they're doing the courts because they want to make it seem like it's less stupid,
like special.
Well, they want it in their minds. It's special. Everyone else is like, this is stupid. Why are they doing it? So, it's kind of, hey, look at the big flashy object. So we're just going to look at our court, not look at the dumb tournament we're playing for no reason. Look at the court, which is pretty much the same for everyone, only we just interchanged logos and some of them have a different color.
The court has no bearing on anything. It's just there.
Oh, it is. I'm going to watch now. Millions of people are going to tune in now just because of the court.
Yeah. What person in the NBA thought, you know what? You know what will make this tournament stand out even more and get more people to watch? The courts.
That doesn't surprise me, though, because somebody in the NBA thought this tournament was a good idea to start with. So they're floating the court idea. And I don't mind the alternate court. It's just, do we need one for every single team? Especially since they're not different. The difference between the Hornets court and the Warriors court is the logo.
Like, if I'm going to be a court guru, right, why not have, I don't know, the NBA Finals court go back to the cool giant, I guess, NBA Larry O'Brien trophy in the middle? Because the past couple years, the NBA court for NBA Finals games have been just so bland and stupid.
Well, because they need the space for the sponsor now.
Why not make it cool? Why not try to, if it's the NBA Finals, the games actually matter then. These NBA in-season tournament games mean little to nothing. Unless the Warriors win it. Brent, next question.
How much of a problem is Brock Purdy for the 49ers, Jim?
Dude. So I got people messaging me.
He's not in MVP talks anymore.
Not anymore. People are like, remember when you said Brock Purdy is a top 10 quarterback in the league? I said Brock Purdy was playing like a top 10 quarterback when they were 5-0. I never said he was a top 10 quarterback. And by the way, I also said that he wasn't elite. Because that was a question that was asked to me. It was, hey, Jim, do you think Brock Purdy's elite? I said, no, he's not elite, but he's playing at a level like elite players did and do. And then the last 3 games happen. 3 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 0-3. I still think he's the guy, but the last couple games in the fourth quarter have been really bad. Now you could say, hey, look, he literally had a concussion against the Minnesota Vikings, and the very next pass was an interception. But then what the hell was yesterday? Like yesterday in the fourth quarter, he was playing a great game, and then he makes back-to-back really bad plays that essentially cost them the game, even though I tend to think that the 49ers defense is more of a problem than Brock Purdy at this point in time. But that's just, to me, a young player trying to do too much at a crucial point in the game when all you need to do is just make the right play. Just make what is this? It's make the right play. Brent, what's the next question?
If the D-backs win the World Series, does that make division titles irrelevant?
Yeah, pretty much. If you have an 84-win World Series winner, Darren was talking about this today about the last 4 National League pennant winners going to the World Series were all the last team in the postseason. They were all the last seed, either the 5th seed or the 6th seed. They've the last 4 years. So what does that tell you? Especially in the National League, winning divisions and winning 100 games really doesn't mean anything. It's about getting in. It sucks because I think division titles should mean something. I think the regular season should mean something. You play 162 games and you win 100 games, and it's like you lose in the first round in 3 games to an 84-win Diamondbacks team and your season's over? Or if, like, you were the Mets last year, you won 100 games and you lose in the wild card round.
I think they still mean something, at least in baseball, just because, like you said, how long the season is.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's not a bummer, if you like the teams this year where you lose or you win 100 plus games and then you get bounced right away. But I don't think it makes it irrelevant. I think it's always the first goal for every team is, like you said, get in the playoffs. But what's the easiest way? You win the division, you're automatically in the playoffs.
Right.
So I think that's everyone's goal until 2 months into the season when you're 20 games out of first place, and then you don't have a choice. So you kind of you have to get in however you can get in.
Baseball, man, it's that I feel like it's that underdog mentality in baseball, especially the last 4 years, that has really kind of like led the way here for these teams. You had the Phillies last year, you have the D-backs this year, you had the Braves a couple years ago, you had the Washington Nationals a couple years before that, right? Like the underdog mentality of no one believes in us is really leading the charge, especially in the National League.
And you'd think they would embrace that more, but they kind of treat the underdog like college football does, to where they don't want anything to do with it. And, if we get an underdog, what happened as soon as Arizona made the World Series? Oh, God, ratings. This is going to be the worst World Series ever because Arizona's in it. And they lost 100 games last year and blah, blah. It's just like, no.
Well, game 1 was awesome. Game 2, obviously, yeah, that was a blowout. But
it was close for the majority of the game, though. They didn't blow them out into the last 3 innings.
Though. True. But again, it's just division titles, especially if these teams, if like Arizona wins, right? Then people are going to be looking at, hey, we just need to get in at all cost. And if your goal now is just 84 wins a year, man, or is everybody just lowering the bar, which sucks because I want to see good teams. 84 wins. Can you characterize the Diamondbacks as they had a good season? Take away the postseason success, right? 84 wins. Is that a good season to you in your mind, knowing baseball?
This year it was good enough to get in.
Okay. But just like
on the average year, no.
Yeah.
But this year it happened to be good enough.
That's my not on the average year, you would say 84 wins, not good enough.
No.
It's crazy. And they're 3 wins away from a World Series.
Yeah, but at least they're, we're above 500. It wasn't like, what was it, a couple years ago was it the NFC South when like the Saints won the division, but they're like 2 games under 500 and they got to host a playoff game.
That was a long time ago. Also, the Seahawks have done it 7-9. I think
so
last
it'd
year
be different if this was a scenario like that, where
the Bucks went to the playoffs and hosted a playoff game when they were 8-8 a couple years ago when Brady was playing.
If Arizona was like 10 games under 500 and then
8-9,
this happened, then I would, I'd be like, okay, I get it.
It's just a weird time in baseball, man. And look, if you are the Padres and you're AJ Preller and you're Peter Seidler, you're probably rooting for this. You probably want this because having too lofty expectations for this franchise makes everybody just turn into mush. Like, hey, you got to get to 90 wins. This team is built to win 95 games. Actually, we don't even need to do that to make the postseason. We just need to be average and win 84 and have the lowest common denominator of like expectations. And then if we get in, who knows what could happen? Because for the last 4 years, teams in the National League that finished as the last seed going in have made the World Series. So you know what? Why have lofty expectations and goals for the regular season? Let's just get in at 84 wins, 85 wins, and then hopefully make a run to the World Series because it's working out for everybody else. Next question, Brent.
Finally, Jim, where do you think Juan Soto could get traded to if he gets traded?
I don't want him to get traded anywhere, but if AJ Preller does trade him, you better trade him to an American League team just for next year, because you trade him to someone in the National League and you happen to, I don't know, face off against Juan Soto in the postseason and he does well against you, bro. That would be, we talk a lot about like worst case scenarios with this team a lot. And they've been a pretty good success rate at worst case scenarios. Hey, can't let Bob Melvin go to your division rival in the Giants. Happened. Can't let Bob Melvin just leave. Happened.
Don't tell me what I can't do.
Yeah. Juan Soto gets traded to a team in the National League. Can't face them in the postseason and have them have success against you. Could probably happen. So I am on the side of I do not want them to trade Juan Soto. I'm firmly trading Juan Soto would be a bad move. I don't know if it's even possible, but I would want them to re-sign Juan Soto. Seems like every day that passes, the likelihood of that happening becomes slimmer and slimmer. But I would say an American League team. I don't care where in the American League. So the only way you'd face Juan Soto next year in a meaningful, postseason game would be in the World Series. And at that point, then yeah, that's a horrible scenario too. But still, it's like, don't have him be in the National League. Just go to the American League and find some prospect in the American League that actually will turn into something.
Yankees.
Yankees.
Someone brought up already. If they throw Jason Dominguez in there, that kid's legit.
But would they though?
For Juan Soto, they might.
I don't know anything about Jason Dominguez.
He's got elite speed. He plays center field. He used to switch hit. I don't know if he still does.
Knowing this team, they'll still keep Trent Grisham out there for some reason.
But yeah, no, he's legit.
Okay.
So I would take him and some pitching prospects, and
I guess, and today, Ken Rosenthal had a mailbag and it was asked to him, like, where do you think Juan Soto could be traded? And it was interesting because I firmly don't want this to happen, but it gets talked about more and more from national writers and people that actually know what they're talking about. And by the way, just to reiterate this, if someone says that they think the Padres should trade Juan Soto, that is completely different than saying, I think the Padres will trade Juan Soto, which I've heard. I've heard people in the media say, I think the Padres should trade Juan Soto. That's not like breaking news, everybody. That's just an opinion. That's an opinion of somebody.
It's just like your opinion, man.
When someone says, I think the Padres will trade Juan Soto, that could be used as a report. But if someone's telling you, yeah, I think the Padres should trade Juan Soto, that's like, no, stop. That's an opinion. And these are opinions now of Ken Rosenthal, who knows what he's talking about on where he thinks Juan Soto could get traded this offseason.
What team is the most likely one to acquire Juan Soto? Well, we've already heard some talk about the Yankees, and clearly they should have interest. But let's talk about Juan Soto a little bit and who he is at this stage of his career. He is 1 year away from free agency. Premier offensive player, no question about that. Defense and base running, not totally what you would want, but an elite offensive guy. He's going to make probably an arbitration about $30 million this year. So that, in theory, should depress the price, should make the Padres less demanding in what they get back for Juan Soto than what they gave for him when they acquired him with 2+ years of control remaining. It's not the same kind of trade. You're taking on all that money and you're getting far less control. So who can do this kind of trade? Which teams can make this kind of deal? It would have to be a team most likely with money to spend and a team that believes it can extend Juan Soto. Good luck with that. Scott Boras is his agent. He wants to go to free agency. He's going to want to set a standard with Juan Soto. Most teams can take on a single salary of $30 million, even the Tampa Bay Rays, a team like that, for 1 year. The question is, would such a team be willing to give up the prospects necessary to get Soto? Maybe the Rays would. They're a team that has been aggressive in these kinds of things over the years, but they haven't really succeeded in any of their quests. But the more likely scenario is that it's a team with money and prospects. A team like the Yankees, the Cubs, the Red Sox. I would throw the Giants in that category, though I don't know that they would be willing to do that kind of deal. Farhan Zaidi as president of baseball operations, I don't know that it's his thing. The Yankees, perfect fit. Soto, the left-handed bat they need, a star going forward if they choose to re-sign him. It makes all the sense in the world, and they have young players to trade. Cubs, the same. I don't know that they would be as aggressive as the Yankees. Red Sox, they'd have to move Verdugo in some other kind of deal, but he would make a lot of sense for them too, and their incoming president of baseball operations, Craig Breslow. I could create other scenarios as well, but those teams would be among the ones that I would expect would be involved with Juan Soto. Finally.
Yeah, this ain't going away. the Juan Soto trade rumor mill, it ain't going away, unfortunately. Every day that goes by, every game that gets played in the World Series, that we get closer to the offseason and we get closer to the baseball winter meetings, I feel like Juan Soto getting traded is like more likely every single day. And I would hate it. I would absolutely hate it. I know Padres fans would hate it. I think players in that clubhouse wouldn't like it. Maybe some would like it because they don't want to deal with Juan Soto anymore, but you look around that clubhouse and he was your best hitter last year, like by far. Did I think he had the impact on the season that his numbers showed? I don't. I think that his numbers were a little soft, but I also think that he was by far and away their best offensive player. So trading Juan Soto in the offseason seems more likely every day, and that's just another notch on AJ Preller to I don't know why he's still the general manager, but he still is. And you trade Juan Soto, whose fault and who are you going to blame? Of course, it's going to be the guy that traded him. It's going to be AJ Preller. But then you have to dig deeper and say, why did they do that? Well, one, do they want to pay him $30 million next year? Probably not, with all the money issues that they're dealing with. So then it's like, okay, well, then it's Peter Seidler's fault because Peter Seidler's the one out and gave Manny Machado this $350 million contract and allowed AJ Preller to go get Xander Bogaerts for $280 million and then allowed AJ Preller to sign Cronenworth for $80 million and allowed AJ Preller to sign Yu Darvish for $100+ million.
I think a lot of it too isn't necessarily should they go out and sign him for this. It's can they sign him for that? You know, we've heard all these rumors about how, broke they are and how they're, getting assets together to sell. And, are they going to be able to afford him without just completely obliterating that tax, which they've already they're like $2 away from just blowing that thing up now as it is.
Well, I do think trading Juan Soto, they don't have to do it, but to build a cohesive roster, they might have to do it. Like to build a better roster. I don't know if you can say better roster, but just like filling in some gaps. Like you need bullpen help. You need pitching help. You need a first baseman. You need a backup catcher. You need bench depth. You need another outfielder. There's a lot of pieces there that this team needs next year. And if you have Juan Soto on it, how many of those pieces can you fill with that $30+ million number attached to this payroll when they've already said, or not said, they didn't say this, but it's been reported, and I tend to believe this reporting, that they're going to need to get this number down to around 200. You keep Juan Soto here, it's already at 200 with all of those holes still needing to be filled. So can they afford to do that? We'll find out. All right.
I was going to say, I see John couldn't come into work today, but he's entered the YouTube chat.
Oh, must be nice. John says, don't trade Soto, trade John. I 100% agree. I like that idea. I would trade John right now for a cupcake. Like, no questions asked. Chocolate cupcake with ganache frosting. It'd probably be the easiest trade on the planet for me to do. John for a cupcake straight up? 100%. Absolutely. What would you trade John Schaefer for? 70470, start your message with team. All right, coming up next, we'll wrap up today. We have Raiders and Lions at 4:45. Also, my back page coming up next.
The year is almost over. Do you need cash for the holidays or want to be credit card debt free for the new year? Call Loan Pronto today. Their Express Equity line of credit can get you $20, $50, $100,000 in as little as 5 days. Listen, you have a ton of equity in your home, and Loan Pronto can help you turn that equity into cash. You can access up to 95% of your home's value. Use the money to pay off all your credit cards, pay off personal loans, or start that home improvement project. You can get the money you need now and still keep your primary mortgage intact, so your 3% rate is protected. And with Loan Pronto's Express Equity Line program, 90% of the time, there's no need for an appraisal, so you can get your money super fast. Get the holiday cash you need or pay off all those credit cards before the new year. Get yourself on solid financial footing before the year ends. Call Loan Pronto now. 619-207-4336, 619-207-4336, loanpronto.com. Call 619-207-4336. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval. The year is almost over. Do you need cash for the holidays?
All right, this update is brought to you by DraftKings Fantasy Sports. Game 3 of the World Series tonight. We have the Diamondbacks and Rangers. That series is tied up at 1 game apiece. 5:07 first pitch there. Monday Night Football tonight between the Lions and the Raiders in Detroit. 5:15 kickoff. You can listen to that game right here on San Diego Sports 760. Pregame coverage starts at 4:45. Check out what DraftKings has to offer this season with code SPORTS, because life's more fun when you're in on the action. DraftKings, the crown is all yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Age and eligibility restrictions do apply. Void where prohibited. See DraftKings.com for details today. All right, final time on Jon and Jim, except it's just Jim and Brent today. Jon will be back tomorrow for Halloween. I'm going to make him dress up. He has no choice. Sorry, Jon. I'll be dressing up too. And I feel like everybody's going to call me an idiot once they see what I wear.
Probably.
You're
going to be Taylor Swift, aren't you?
No, I'm not going to be Taylor Swift, dude. I'm not going to be Taylor Swift. And I'm not going to have Jon be Travis Kelce. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to dress up like Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. I don't have the effort.
That's a misdirect. Jon is going to be Taylor Swift. You're going to be Travis Kelce.
Exactly.
You got the beard.
See, that everybody's doing that this year. Like, everybody's dressing up as Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, by the way. I just don't feel like I have the effort in me to go out and buy like a Travis Kelce jersey for $150,
dude,
that I wear one time.
Anybody that's listened to this show for longer than a year knows you are bad at buying anyone's jersey. So it would just sit in your cart forever.
Yes, jerseys
until
are
his retirement.
Yeah, jerseys are always in the cart. And usually whatever jersey I buy of somebody, they always end up like having a horrible career. Like, they just end up always sucking, or they retire or whatever. So I just don't buy jerseys anymore. I just keep them in the cart. They're always in the cart. My cart is 100% full. All right, Why did I say Lakers? Raiders and Lions coming up here at the 5:15. Our pregame cover starts at 4:45. Before that, Brent, let's get to this. So
hold on real quick. Jon just said on the YouTube chat, "What are you guys being?" He goes, "I'll be Darth Maul." And he goes, "Or Darth Maul spelled M-A-L-L, and dress up like an Abercrombie."
So just have Jon has to come in with his shirt off. That's what Abercrombie models do. If you're a male Abercrombie model, you come in with your shirt off. So Jon, you're gonna have to just not wear a shirt tomorrow and be an Abercrombie model.
Yeah, we'll see if those Pilates are doing you any good.
Yeah, more like a JC Penney model. On the Abercrombie model. So a couple years ago, by a couple years ago, I mean 2019, someone bought an original 4G or 4 gigabyte iPhone. All right. And that person purchased that and sold it today for guess how much? It was sealed, everything. Still sealed.
$500,000.
No. But they sold it for $133,000. Now, this iPhone back in 2007 was purchased for $534. And today it sold for $133,000. So basically all you need to do is just buy an iPhone.
So basically, it costs as much as the i15 Pro titanium.
Yes, it does. 2 of them. I always think about that. Like, what could I have purchased back in like 2006 or 7 or whatever? And if I just kept it around and now it's worth over $130,000.
Yeah, see, I hate that because that's why I never open anything. Like when we go to Comic-Con and I buy stuff, like I still haven't opened my Zombie Iron Man Funko Pop and it's not even worth anything, but I'm afraid to open it because I know if I do open it, then all of a sudden it's going to become worth something.
Well, that's the thing is I have some Pokemon cards that I have yet to have graded, but like they're in pristine condition. And I have this one card that I look online every once in a while to see how much it's worth. And it's well over a couple $1,000s if it's like graded at a 10. So I'm just going to keep that forever and see what happens. Because I in like 25 years, who knows? Maybe these things will be worth thousands of dollars, or maybe they won't because no one cares about Pokemon cards. If you're still listening, he's probably not anymore. This restaurant right here, Brent, in Georgia, is adding a $50 surcharge for adults unable to parent correctly.
I love that.
The Toccoa Riverside restaurant, it reads on the menu, adult surcharge for adults unable to parent. Basically, if you are deemed that you cannot parent your kid, the restaurant will charge you an additional $50 to your bill. And it will say, because, quote, your kids are being too loud.
I wish they could do this for everything.
I do too, because there's nothing I makes me cringe more than going to a restaurant and seeing parents just let their kids run wild.
Well, it's not even just at restaurants. It's
or anywhere.
You go to Target or Walmart and it's like 6 kids just running all over the place. And like the parents not even like, hey, stop running into people. It's like, they just don't care.
Yeah. They just don't care. I always look at parents and go, man, I do not want to be like that if the kid is going absolutely crazy and the parent is doing nothing about it. So just don't go to this restaurant if you have kids that misbehave, because you're going to be charged $50 extra. Finally, at McDonald's, they're getting rid of a signature utensil, Brent, as a substantial makeover to the restaurant.
Well, there's only 3. It's either the knife, 4, I guess. It's either knife, a fork, a spoon, or the spork.
McDonald's has announced plans to do away with its signature McFlurry spoons, the ones with the hollowed out handles, starting this month. The change is in part to push a reduced plastic waste in U.S. restaurants. I'm outraged.
So what was it hollow that didn't make it easier to eat? McFlurries are awesome. I don't care what kind of spoon I have to eat it with.
Did you ever think when you got a McFlurry that the hollow part of the spoon was to suck the McFlurry out?
No.
Because that'd be cool if they had a spoon, but it was also served as a straw.
That'd be kind of messy though if you started as a straw and then you want to go to a spoon.
It'd also be very disgusting if you did that as well. But anyway, if anybody's wondering, guess what? You're not going to have McFlurry spoons anymore because McDonald's doesn't like plastic. So there you go. All right. Tomorrow, Halloween. Also, the return of Jon. Potentially. I don't know when he's coming back. If it's tonight, if it's tomorrow. Hopefully his flight doesn't get delayed. We'll see how that goes. But tomorrow, Halloween, make sure you tune in to the YouTube channel because we will be dressed up. We will be dressed up. If you miss anything today, make sure you check us out. Podcast Center, iTunes, YouTube. We're there every single day. Just search out Jon and Jim 760. Coming up next, we have Monday Night Football, Raiders and Lions from Detroit. We'll be back tomorrow, Jon and Jim with Jon. I'm making his ass dress up. He doesn't have a choice. Does not have a choice. Tomorrow's Halloween. You're dressing up. Thanks to Derek Togerson. Thanks to Brent. Thanks to all of you out there for interacting on the show today. Monday Night Football, Lions and Raiders coming up next from Detroit. Until then, make sure you keep it right here on San Diego Sports 760.